Good afternoon, this is Kim. I am going to talk to you today a little bit about the migration process and ACE 4.0 training and what materials you guys have access to as consultants and kind of your role as also ACE trainer. So I guess kind of the first thing to do would be to decide which migration group is going to work best for your accounts. We have two tentative migration dates. These sometimes change, that's why I stress tentative. But right now we are looking at one in early July, which would be July 6th through 8th. And then the second one is at the end of August, August 24th through 26th. So the first thing would be to kind of try to identify which migration group would work best for your account. After you know the potential migration date, then we usually work with the client from there to set up some ACE 4.0 training. Now the training we usually schedule for somewhere between 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on the client's familiarity with the ACE in general. And during that training, usually a trainer is there giving this training live. So we'll be logged into the ACE, showing people around. That training usually highlights kind of the new features of ACE 4.0 and how to navigate. And then users are recommended to be logged in, have a device, and be following along and practicing during that training. If you don't feel comfortable doing the live training, we do have a PowerPoint for ACE basic training. It is long and not necessarily pretty, and we usually use it more as just a backup should there not be internet, something like that. But if you're interested in using that 4.0 training PowerPoint, please email me and I can make sure that I give you that resource. It's quite large, as I mentioned, so I can't email it to you, but I can give you the box link if you would like it. Okay, so that's a little bit about training. During the training, we will usually highlight the ways that people can get some help. So we highlight the ACE Help Desk, of course, and then also the Learning Center. So to get to the Learning Center, you would log into the ACE, you'd go to the app library, and then down at the bottom, we're going to be looking for the light bulb, which is the Learning Center. So app library, all the way down at the bottom, the Learning Center. Now in here we have under My Classes on the right hand side, you should see ACE 4.0 resources. We have a lot of content in here, and so we've done our best to keep the folder organized with clear names and then a brief description of those items. So during the training, what people are probably going to have access to is the ACE practice classroom, and in there's like 50 or so practice students. So people can be free to play around and not worry about messing up their real students. Usually some time passes from the time that they have ACE 4.0 training until the time that they migrate over, but they'll have access to this ACE practice account, always. So while we're in that training, what we usually review is between now and when you migrate over, please use the resources in this top folder to practice different tasks in ACE 4.0. So when we click on this folder, the top document is a navigation quick start guide. And then the second document to reference people to would be the one with a blue title that says Demo Practice Task List ACE Customers. Now to open this document, you click on the little pad of paper and that will open right on your screen. This is a PDF document, and so if you hover in the upper right-hand corner, you can download and save it if people want to be able to save it to their device or print it out using that function. This checklist kind of covers the main new functions of ACE 4.0, and it highlights specifically general navigation, the curriculum app, and challenging behavior, because those are the parts of the website that most people use. So you'll just notice on here that the assessments are not covered by this practice checklist. After the initial page where the checklist is, subsequent pages have the how-to guides for how to complete each task in the order that it appears on the checklist. So if people want some written materials, this is a really great way that they can practice and then reference the content of how to do it. This just opens in a separate tab, so I'm going to close that out up at the top, and that kicks us back into the folder. We're going to go back out one folder to another really great resource. About the fourth folder down, it says ACE 4.0 Self-Study Training Videos and Materials. This is a folder that you could either use for yourself to refresh yourself on some of the content or direct people to check out or maybe this is their primary training with you kind of there moderating the videos. Essentially, this folder contains the 2 to 2.5 hour 4.0 training, but broken down by app. So there are several videos in here, 4 videos. It tells you what it will cover. There's a practice checklist. There's a guide for Teach Now best practice guidelines, getting ready to teach with ACE 4.0. And then up at the top, there's kind of like an intro video one. And then also we have a list of learning objectives so people can know what they're going to learn by going through the videos. So again, really great resource either to yourself as a trainer or if you want to use this as part of your training. This is always available and anyone can log into the Learning Center and access this content. Okay, so during our training, again, we highlight the help desk, we highlight the Learning Center and all the materials that are available in here. And then we also talk a little bit about what the migration process is going to look like. So just, very broadly speaking, migration just simply means that the ACE department is going to move everything that's on ACE 3.0 and bring it over to ACE 4.0 for them. So that's lessons, it's data, it's the assessments, it's users, it's students, it's everything that's in there. So to do that, we need to kind of take the system offline for a short period of time while we're actually bringing all that data over. And then we do a sampling of your data to make sure that things came over as expected. So typically during a migration date, we will have users not be able to log in as of either Wednesday or Thursday evening around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then they won't be able to log in until the migration process is over. That's typically sometime Saturday afternoon around noon. So that's kind of the process. And then to prepare their account to migrate, there are some housekeeping items that are helpful for people to complete. Basically, it's just getting the account organized and ready so that migration will be a little bit smoother for them. So this document kind of walks through what those different items are. Most importantly is something that's called target separation. So I'm going to highlight kind of on the screen the part that I'm talking about here. In ACE 3.0, when you open up your instructional plan, your targets are going to be all on one line, separated by a comma. For ACE 4.0, to know how to read those items and to rotate the targets when you're in Teach Now, the ACE 3.0 lessons have to be managed. So essentially, in 3.0, before migration, users can come in, open the instructional plan, remove the comma that's here, and just add double semicolons. And essentially, the computer reads when there's a double semicolon, add the target on the next line. And so if they do that ahead of migration, when they go to use Teach Now, if they're going to use Teach Now, then their targets will be set up to rotate for them. If they don't have time to do this before migration, it is a task that they can do after migration. And so for those clients that maybe are not going to use Teach Now, it's not an essential item to complete. But if you are going to use Teach Now or they think they're going to use Teach Now, this would be a good idea to do. So this document is something that Christine and Nicole both have, so they can forward it to you or I can help forward this information. All right, so that's before migration. After migration, there's also a checklist, and so we usually just give people a heads up about this. A lot of the items on this checklist are optional, but it does walk people through how to take advantage of the new features of ACE 4.0. So it's different things to consider, different things to look at, and then behind the checklist, again, are some brief instructions on how to complete each of those items. Now, once we know the migration date, we have a training set up, and then that date is approaching for migration. Usually the first of the week, we will send an email out to the account administrators with the information in this document. So we would change or modify anything that's highlighted in yellow so that it's specific to the migration weekend. But this document kind of gives them the migration specifics. So the dates and times, how to log into ACE 4.0 following migration, how to get some help should they need it. And then just a reminder that the preference assessment information is not on ACE 4.0 yet. So we would copy this into the body of an email. We would attach the Getting Ready to Teach Now checklist and then kind of send that off. Following migration on Monday morning, we usually check in with that account. So as the consultant, you would want to email them and just say, hey, you migrated this weekend, as I'm sure you're aware. Just wanted to check in, see if I could offer any support. And then we'll also typically check in either like a week later or a week and a half later, again, just to make sure that people know that there are resources available and support available to help them through kind of this transition period. It is pretty common that once people have been using ACE 4.0 for, maybe a month or two, that they'll want a follow-up kind of question and answer session. So that, might be something to kind of anticipate people might want. But that kind of walks you through the migration process and the training materials. And if anyone needs any other materials or has questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to act as a resource and help get you more resources should you need them.